Hi, everyone. My name is Kyra. I'm the program and political organizer here at Higher Heights. Hold on. I'm the I'm having a little technical difficulty. I'm sorry, I'm back. I'm the program and political organizer here at Higher Heights, and my job is literally to organize volunteers and supporters like you to take action and stay involved with Higher Heights. And so I'm so excited to welcome you to the launch of our 2025 Higher Heights Summer Training Series. These series are an opportunity to grow as organizers, learn about the political system, grow in your activism, and inspire you to run for office. And today we'll be hearing an incredible presentation from our National Programs and Political Director, Jay Brandon, who will walk us through how to build equity. Get ready to get inspired and reminded about the power that you carry. I will do a minor housekeeping. There is a chat function. So if you have any questions, no, it's a Q&A function, my bad. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions, and we will answer them at the end and throughout the chat. But let me introduce you to Jay.
Hi, give me 1 second. I'm going to ensure that our presentation is ready to go. So hi, good evening. My name is Jay Brandon, as Kyra mentioned. Thank you for that lovely intro. Welcome to the audience. I am happy that you are here with us. As noted, I am the National Programs and Political Director, and you could have been anywhere in the world, and technically you are, but you are here with us at Higher Heights, the political home for Black women. And I am truly excited to be kicking off the 2025 summer training series with you all. This conversation I'm excited about, not just simply because I'm the political director and get to talk, but because this is a conversation that I know will level set the entire series for you all. And so without further ado, I will present equity, building, and leadership, what it looks like to seek out justice and lead with fairness. So, a quick overview of what we'll be talking about. In a second, we're going to do a quick reflection exercise that, again, will help level set the conversation and get us all in the minds and thinking of our experiences with equity. We're going to talk about the practice area. So, what does it actually look like to carry out equity, to have leadership? We're going to define equity. We're going to look at it in practice. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to define that and then talk about models. And then we're going to conclude with an understanding of not just my personal why as someone who works in this space, but also for all of us to understand our collective purpose as to why we are engaging in social activism, in social justice work, in equity building. So, what can you expect? Outcomes, right? Like you attended, as I said, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And so, with that, we want to make sure that you have the information that you need, that you're walking away with some tangible pieces of information to carry on to your next parts of your journey, whether that's volunteering, whether that's supporting someone running for office, or whether that's you running for office yourself. So, a greater sense of individual leadership capabilities, us individually, a clearer example of those best practices. We're going to give you a working definition of equity. We're going to also help to increase your leadership awareness and the models that it takes to implement equitable and fair leadership. And then overall, as we noted, walking away with a collective sense of what is our job, what is the role that we play in seeking out equity, but also leading to justice. So, as I said, quick level setting reflection exercise. Let's begin with this question. If our efforts aren't to heal trauma, then what is our positive impact? With that, I want to take a step to now towards leadership. Think about a time where you experienced equitable leadership. What did it teach you? How did it make you feel? And how are you individually carrying that forward today? So take a moment, I won't ask anyone to read out. I will actually come back in about 60 seconds and give my example of this for this question. But want you just to take a quick 60 seconds. So while you're doing that, I'm going to drink some water, and then I'm going to come back and give you all my leadership example. Okay. So uh, the interesting thing about this work is what I started with is asking the question of if our efforts aren't if our efforts aren't to heal trauma, then what is our positive impact? And the interesting thing about trauma is it can be hard to identify. It can be even harder to talk about once identified. It can be even harder on top of all of those two things to start to heal that trauma. However, those of us that are volunteering in this space, those of us that are working as activists, whether at an organization or within government, as staffers or as an elected official, that is the work that we are aiming to do: is to heal trauma. Uh, Equity building is in an effort to ensure. We'll get to the definition in a second, but it is simply to ensure that those around us have the things that they need in order to succeed and be prosperous. And so with that, we have to again have this conversation to level set exactly what equity building is and what the leadership in that looks like. So the example that I have is the time where I experienced equitable leadership is having previously worked at BronxWorks. It's a direct service provider organization in the Bronx, working with a range of individuals who need services. And in that, I worked in a high school alternative program, so working with students getting their GED. And our program director, a Black woman, did a really good job of how my experience of leading with equity. And what that looked like was ensuring that the different members of the team, and when I say team in this instance, I mean the people working there as well as the students were involved in the different conversations that were happening about what was happening in the program. So if we were making changes, we went and asked questions to the students. When she was making changes, she would come to the staff and get our input. And that to me allowed me to feel like an adequate, a contributing member of the team, in that the folks doing the work were involved and the students that were getting the benefits were also involved. And so with that, I'll talk about my own personal struggles with leadership, and then how I've channeled that forward. So my personal struggle with leadership is now trying to do that myself, is to work with leaders, is to be in different conversations with those impacted and those trying to help the impacted, and figure out what the solutions are, what do we do to solve the problems. Essentially, what all of us are coming to this space to do on a regular basis. Again, whether it's as a volunteer, whether it's as supporting someone running for office, or whether we're running for office ourselves. And in that, it can be a struggle to get everyone not just to coalesce around the same ideas, but to feel empowered with that, to know that they are a contributing member, that even with whatever their traumas are, or whatever their lived experiences are, that they are a member of the team, that they should be contributing. And so, how have I navigated that? My approach is to do a couple of things. At the top is to recognize that while I am a leader, my goal in that is to bring the ideas together, is to figure out the best way to make all of it mesh. Because again, we all have a seat at the table, we all have a voice and an opinion to add to it. And so with that, we have to come up with a collective idea, something that is comprehensive, that involves all the different entities and facets. And so, how have I done that? I encourage, as the second part of that is, I make space, deliberately make space for others to open up and give their opinions to something. As I'm in meetings with staff, it's asking, do they have questions, comments, taking a break to ensure that they have the space and opportunity to speak and lift up their voices. And so, with that, I
Okay.
have, yes,
The slides aren't moving.
there's no movement right now. I haven't moved them. Or I'm
Oh,
moving.
okay.
They're still on reflection.
Oh, okay. No, that's just like we see the Canva screen.
Hmm. Okay. Like, let's see.
Sorry
Technical
about that,
difficulty
y'all.
happen.
You might want to hit present on Canva.
How are we now?
Still off. It's like not in presentation mode at all.
Hmm. Let's see. Hmm.
Nothing now.
Hmm. Sorry about that.
It's good. Keep it in Canva and just don't hit present. Have you tried that?
Mm,
Rosalind said you might have to point Zoom to the right window. Thank you.
can we see it now?
No.
Hmm. Interesting.
Oh, wait, go back. If you want to just keep like you want to just go back and keep it there, and if you can hit the slides, would that work?
Here,
Yeah, like if you want to, I don't know how to.
you can see the slides now, though.
I can see the slides, but it's just in Canva. It's not full screen.
Hmm. Let's do this.
Yeah, just keep it like that.
Mm, how we can see it though.
Yeah, you can see it, but like you would have to hit the slides, I guess.
I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure it's like viewable overall.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Not a problem.
Sorry about that, y'all.
No problem. Happy we were able to get that sorted. So thank you for identifying that, particularly before we got any deeper, as we were just simply on the reflection. So I'll just reiterate where I was at in terms of bringing things forward. So two things, excuse me, is as a leader, my approach is to one, ensure that I'm making it known that the goal is to be a mesher, to coordinate the different pieces and bring them together. And then second is to be deliberate, intentional about creating that space for folks to empower their voice so that they're able to show up and be a part of the problem solving as well as the benefit. So the practical areas. What does this look like? And so to ensure that again that we're level setting, wanted to use words and language that some folks may be accustomed to already and allows us to all come together and with a full picture understanding as we not only move through this presentation but beyond it. So equity is us, all of us, grassroots. We are the equity. We are the people. We are the community in which equity is for. That is everyone being a part of it. So, as I just talked about, my example of equitable leadership looked like bringing all facets of the party to the table. That's what it is. That's who we are. We are the people. Leadership is reflected through government organizations such as Higher Heights, our civic participation. So the grassroots getting involved individually in different spaces and places. And there's some other places in the presentation that we'll talk a bit about our roles that we can play. But that's what it looks like. Our civic participation is leadership as well. Under that equity, how do we, what are the vehicles, the practical areas? This is educational awareness. This is organizing within our communities. This is developing our stories as the storytellers, as the individuals. Again, it's all of us being involved, and that's an important part that we want to keep mentioning as we go throughout this. This is where relationship and skill building take place. The advocacy that happens starts with the grassroots. On the leadership side, it may look like endorsements from organizations. It may look like political campaigns. There's going to be policy analysis in here. It's about how we individually also talk about the issues. It's elected leadership and engagement. Oh, I can do that too. So let's take a moment to define equity and, as I said, completely level set this conversation. Equity recognizes that individuals have different needs and allocates resources based on those needs to achieve as equal outcome for all. Some people and groups face more hardships and adverse circumstances that make it more challenging to achieve goals even with perseverance. So, as I noted there, or as it is noted in the definition, needs the goal of equity is it's aiming to provide the resources for the needs for people to achieve an as equal outcome. So essentially, it is saying that equity is not going to guarantee that this is how someone will be able to do X, Y, and Z. But what it says is they do need something else additional to be able to carry out X, Y, and Z. And equity is aiming to provide that for them. And so I want to start talking about and showing some examples of what this looks like. And then there's some intentionality here in bringing this forward visually as well. So on the left, you see equal, and oftentimes equality is confused with equity. And in this moment, want to realistically take this opportunity to explain the differences. So equal sees all parties as being capable and able to do despite circumstances, whether they're in our control or not. So on the left, as I said, we see equal. And there, everyone is being given an equal pedestal to stand on, regardless of your height, regardless of the height of the fence in front of them. Everyone is being equally given a resource. However, what we can see here is that this does not actually equip all of the people with the things that they need to properly engage in this moment. We see on the still on the left side under equal, on the far right, the person there cannot see, or the individual there cannot see over the gate. And so in this, while everyone is equal, it is still not fair and just for all. So now let's look over on the right side. What we have there is an example of equity where there are resources available and we can identify that not everyone needs the resource. This also points out that it's not taking away from anyone as we are giving others the resources that they need in order to be able to see over this fence. So we see here on this one, in an equitable environment, the person on the far right is given two pedestals to stand on so that they're able to see over the gate. And then the person in the middle is given one to help them adequately see. And then the person on the left doesn't have one at all because they are able to efficiently see over the fence without any needing of resources or anything blocking them in that moment. So equity again seeks to provide the resources that we each individually need to carry out something in the moment, live life as prosperous as possible. Equity building again is grassroots. It's all of us. It's all of us being involved in the planning, in the execution, and the benefit. So let's take this moment to define leadership, because this is the vehicle in which we go about achieving equity. And what something that we should know as we look to define this is that we're all involved in leadership. So, leadership is the capacity to lead, the act or instances of leading. And then I want to step further and I wanted to include a little bit more that help to contextualize this further. And so McKinsey and Company has this great summary of leadership. Leadership is a set of mindsets and behaviors that align people in a collective direction. It enables them to work together and accomplish shared goals and helps them adjust to changing environments. So something there that I want to identify with the specific definition and even the summary of leadership is it doesn't talk about a smartest or a best. There isn't necessarily a comparison here done to someone being the great at it. It simply talks about it being a set of mindsets, of behaviors that involve everyone, that brings the collective together for a shared purpose, for a shared direction, for shared outcomes and goals. And so I go back to what I started with. Uh, Leadership involves all of us, and all of us have opportunities and moments and spaces to be leaders. And so, thinking about two things in this moment before we continue is one, equity is us, all of us. We are the people in which equity is for, and that leadership is something that also involves all of us. We have a role that we can play in being leaders. So continuing on to talk about leadership. It's a collective direction. Again, it is thinking about multiple people. It's thinking about all of us as a part of the grassroots. It's group focused. There's shared goals. We have outcomes that we're trying to celebrate together. It's adaptable as well, because thinking about equity, right? You have to think about everyone. And then in that, you're also thinking about the different needs and resources that they may have. And so recognizing that the plan may have started one way or in one place, and as we go along and we're experiencing the different people that are a part of the engagement, that are a part of the community, they have different things that they need. And so we have to be adaptable to those moments. It has positive impact. I go back to the question that I started with. If our efforts aren't to heal trauma, then what is our positive impact? We should be moving the change needle as we go along. And as best as possible, we look to make it fair. And we'll get to specifically why fair on the latter end at the end. So, as we talked about, let's look at it in practice. Equity in leadership. What does it look like? It's the representation. It's all of us being involved. It's all of us having a seat at the table. That representation creates the ability, all in it together. It helps us divide and conquer. No one person is responsible for any one part of that. And together, that's coalition. In some other spaces, we may call it community. I use coalition here to talk about it in an active sense and talking about moving towards advocacy, but either are interchangeable. And for our individual lives, we could realistically look at it as community and ensure that we're creating a space to where we have the ability to do, and that comes through representation, and that comes through recognizing that all of us, one, are leaders, but all of us have a role to play in this thing of life. Ooh. So the importance of equity, it promotes inclusivity. Think about it. You have a seat at the table. Someone tells you got a seat at the table. Someone makes space for you to utilize your voice or just share your voice. You feel included. It encourages an engagement and participation. It becomes a safe space. Again, you are being asked to show up, give your personality, give your opinions, your points of views, your lived experience. And so it is a safe space. You're supported and respected by your peers. Higher quality storytelling and feedback loops happen. I want to hone in on that as we get into more parts of the conversation about our roles in this. So higher quality storytelling, keep our minds there, because again, we all play a part in this. And then we cultivate self advocacy and self confidence. So as we move along, as I noted, equity doesn't guarantee that you will have this specific outcome just because. But what it says is that there are the barriers that may be in front of you are lessened. And with that, someone as we're promoting equity, someone then again because we've invited their voice has the ability to advocate for themselves, speak up and say, "Hey, I need this." And with that, there's a confidence that comes along with it. There's an ability to sit in that I am asking for the things that I need and I am receiving the things that I need. And in that, it furthers helps to build this community. So, what does it look like in practice as all of us playing a role in these things? I want to take a moment for all of us to collectively think about our core values and then how those core values add to the movement, to the collective, to the community, to the coalition that we're building, to the advocacy, to the trauma healing that we're aiming to do. So, took a moment to think about different aspects of the individual. There are some of us that are creatives. There are some of us that are outspoken, are funny comedians. There are some of us that are good with coordination and event planning. There are some of us that are good with brainstorming. And then there's some of us that are serving as leaders amongst leaders. And so with that, again, just thinking about practical ways to like talk about this and reflect to all of us that we have a role to play. You can be a creative and focus on art and design, graphics. There's a role to storytelling that you'll do through that creative lens. It's editing and publishing the different pieces and getting other people's voices out. You could be good with the money and the numbers, and so you help with fundraising, you help with donor cultivation, you become a resource developer by compiling funds and helping to properly manage them. Lived experience. This is absolutely all of us. Every single one of us fit into this category. We are the storytellers. Again, as I noted, quality storytelling comes forward when we lead with equity, when equity is a part of it, because we have confidence, we feel comfortable advocating for ourselves. So then, as we go along, the parts of us that where we need to tell our story, we feel better in doing such. Even as we're trying to overcome trauma, we know that again we're putting out an ask for needs and we're receiving those services as a result of our ask. And so we all have a part under lived experience as storytellers. Laugh factor is really just to recognize again, laughter helps us come together. It helps to create a easy moment, whether it's already a funny situation or not. And we are the content manager. So we determine, how much of our stories that we put out, what aspects of our stories that we put out, but know that our stories are important and that know that we are all each a part of it as storytellers. There's brand ambassadors. Again, I said some folks are outspoken, so they're able to be a spokesperson. They're able to be an engagement facilitator. They may also be a convening agent. So they may help to be the host or the life of the party. And then we have producers, so folks that help with ideas. They are also a resource developer. They are organizers. They are the folks that are like myself, who are putting things together to host these sort of sessions, to give people information, to ensure that they have it, to host rallies, to lead campaigns. This is what it looks like in practice as we are thinking about ourselves individually. We have value, they are our core values in some essences, in many essences for ourselves. And so this is ways in which we can look at it and see how we can be contributors. The importance of this equity in community. So we've already talked about it being about inclusivity, respect of our peers, self-confidence of the individual. But as we look at it in terms of the bonds across the collective, it has a stronger social connection. again, thinking about storytelling, and as we're telling our stories, there's better ability to relate to one another. We can see the commonalities and the shared good in this person and that person. We can then recognize that if I have a movement of something going on, that you can also have a movement of something going on. And where there's space and opportunity to support each other, we shall, because it's a stronger connection. But also just recognizing that where there's a moment where you have your thing and I can't necessarily help, or I have a thing and you can't necessarily help, that it's okay. Because with leading with equity, we foster empathy and we have compassion for others. It improves the quality of life overall for everyone involved. Provides resources that are needed to thrive, supports social and economic stability, and again reduces conflict. I go back to that example of leadership where it was everyone having the opportunity to share their voice. So it wasn't if someone said something that necessarily didn't support, your thing, that the idea, was done and dead in the water, but that everyone's going to get to say their piece, and at the end of it we're going to come together and try to create a plan that involves all of the aspects that were brought forth and put on the table. And so the reduction of conflict is naturally built into the process. So let's get into practice areas, right? When we start talking about being involved in government, political organizations, our civic participation, political representation as practice areas. So you'll notice that I didn't necessarily move too far away from the practice areas when I talked about grassroots, because again, there are core values, and they're the coreness that make us up as who we are as individuals. And so realizing that we can apply that, as I said, to the political areas, to the government areas, to the organizations, our civic participation. Why? Because we each play a role. So, art and design, you're still the artists and graphic designers. You're helping out with website development now, though, for a political campaign or someone in government, or just a social policy that needs to be visible and raised, and a profile raised for it. The social media influencers, the conversation starters in that space. Dollar generators, you're still helping with fundraising, you're still helping to bring some dollars in, you're helping with the cultivation of funds and donor engagement. You're supporting future programmatic endeavors, the dollars that are needed to carry these things out. Again, we're still all a part of this, regardless of whether we see ourselves in any of the other categories, because we have lived experience. And so, with that, we are the people bringing that forward. So, the last point there under lived experience is people organizer. And that's because as we are telling our stories, we're in that collectively bringing more people into our universe, onto our side to help us with this endeavor. The brand ambassadors, they are again the conveners. They're the hosts. They're the folks that are planning summits and conferences and like the DNC and those things. We need them to be there. They know those critical pieces. They're the project managers. And then the producers are still the strategy folks. We help to manage campaigns. We also are people organizers, because we're making the information available to them. We're then bringing them together under common goals. We're mobilizing them, putting them out into the field to do action. And so, practically, this is then what it looks like to be involved in government, to be involved in a political or a civic organization, to take an active role in leadership. It breaks down into one of these categories. So, we're wrapping up. But before we conclude, I want us to really, like I said, be able to walk away with some real tangible things that allow us to continue the conversation, that allow us to take this information that we've learned here and start practically applying it to the different spaces that we're in. Whether that's just simply amongst ourselves as individuals within our networks of family and friends, and being more equitable and how we see our role in there as well as inviting others into that community, or whether it's being involved as a volunteer or supporting a campaign or running for office. So, how can you promote equity through your leadership? Take a moment first to reflect on beliefs and opinions to discover any social biases that can be challenged. We have to, in that, recognize that as we move throughout as we move throughout community and we apply equity, we will come upon some challenges. We will learn new information, and all of that is okay. Research and awareness through books, mediums, and lived experience storytelling on social inequity and leadership required for solutions and change. So as I said, we're going to come across things that may be new that we object to at first, and it's okay. But through research, by adding a lens of awareness, by listening to lived experience storytelling, to be able just to hear what others are going through, we can then take that information and process it, and that now becomes more information that we have, more factual information that we have, that allows us to then make more informed decisions as we go. This in that supports and promotes diversity and inclusion. As I said, as we're working through that, as we're processing it, as we're learning new information, as we're listening to people's stories, we're bringing them into our community. That allows all of us to get involved, help those in need, get them involved. Again, we all play a role in this. And so, even if we're the ones sitting at the table making the decisions, facilitating the actions, we should be thinking about how to get those same people that we're aiming to help involved in the conversation. Get them involved in the conversation, get them involved in the execution, get them involved in the benefit. Be the thing. It starts with each of us. I know many of us have heard this before, but be the thing. It is okay in that to lead sometimes as the only individual. Again, at that point, it becomes part of your lived experience and your storytelling. So, in conclusion, it is important to support individuals so they feel connected and valued within communities. It's a tool of effective organizing and successful campaigns, getting people involved and supporting them. Together, equity and leadership lead to social justice, providing people with what they need to live purposeful and meaningful lives and show the path on how we got there. There continues to be structural and social inequalities and inequities that impact marginalized groups of people and put them at severe disadvantages. Equitable leadership is the equalizer. And before I go, as I noted earlier, and thinking about fairness and wanting to put a period on it all as to specifically why it's important, it's put a period on specifically why equity and leadership and leading with equity in leadership is important. Not only so that it's fair, but that we get to a point of justice. And so you'll see on the screen, we go back to some diagrams that reflect some of the spaces and places in which things are. So we start with reality, and we know through historical research and lived experience storytelling what the realities are for many different individuals who live in this country and in this world. As noted, there continues to be structural and social inequalities and inequities that impact marginalized groups of people. And so reality is reflected in that every day, today, there are people that are severely impacted by systematic and structural inequalities and inequities. Uh, Beneath reality, we have equality. So we go back to equality, equipping everyone with the same set of resources, regardless of whether they need it or not. And in that, we know people get missed. As that diagram shows, there's someone in a wheelchair. I don't even want to put any additional labels to it. They're just simply in a wheelchair. And so, to that, in this moment, they are not able to then access this pedestal that will then or is supposed to enable them to see over this gate. And so we see there that we don't have an environment where everyone is able to as equally enjoy the outcome as possible. And so then we move to equity. And equity provides this person in the wheelchair with a ramp and an elevated ramp at that, so that they're able to see over the fence and enjoy the fireworks in the back. But as I noted, the importance of equity as we've walked through in this diagram, recognizing the historical things that are there, recognizing that even when we make attempts at equality, it still does not meet that mark. Equity does come in, and it says here are the things that you need to be able to thrive ahead. But there's also another step that's included in that. That is ultimately why this work is important, and that's justice. And justice is looking at the environment and assessing, does that fence even need to be there? And so, with that, we create an environment that, yes, provides the resources for people, that equips them with the things that they need in order to be successful at life. But it also looks at the environment and says, how do we just make life easier and more accessible for people in general? And that is justice. And we get to justice by having equity. We get to justice by all of us being involved in leadership, and we get to justice by including equity in our leadership. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me. Sorry again about the early technical difficulties. The presentation will be made available as well as the recording at a future date. And so you will have access to this information. At this time, I will take questions that were relayed during the presentation and any that you have until we're done. So
Yeah.
with that, I will stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. So, Tanya White Anderson asked, how do you deal with the I candidate or people?
Let me read this. How do you deal with the I candidate or people? I'm not sure I quite understand that question. How do you deal with the I candidate? Tanya, feel free if you desire to clarify in the Q&A box or come on off mute uh,
If you can, yeah.
and ask. While that's happening, I'll move on to the next question. What recommendations do you have for working mothers to engage in civic work in the DMV? Any specific organizations? No specific organizations come to mind off the top of my head, but one, this is a really great, I think, question to put forward, and a really good lens to be considering the work through. And so this is definitely something the team and I can take back and start looking into, excuse me, over the next couple of days and weeks to see what we can come up with. Also noted in the follow-up to reach out to us, the programs and political team at Higher Heights. It's political at higherheightsforamerica.org. So I would say definitely follow up with us on this one. Recommendations for working mothers to engage in civic. Go ahead, Kyra.
Oh, do you want to turn your camera on?
Which one?
Like we don't see you.
Hmm.
Wait, there we go. We see you now.
Sorry about that. So what was I saying? Oh, so recommendations. So I actually want to give a lived experience storytelling. So I'll share my parents' example. My parents, there's a couple of examples I can give to this. So in terms of civic participation, I can distinctly always remember going to with my mom to vote. That was something that I actually started looking forward to. It was cool to be able to go into the little voting booth, pull the curtain close, punch the little ballots, and then pull the lever. It was an exciting thing to the point now where I still, as an adult, get really excited. And so, my first recommendation would be to include your kids. include your family. I think one of the notes Kyra mentioned or will mention at some point is about bringing your family and your friends into the space. And so it starts right there in terms of lived experience and the work that we do is including those folks. One of the important pieces that I'm aiming to focus on in this space as we think about organizing is to ensure that those of us that find ourselves in spaces like this are then able to then go back out into our communities and relay those messages, relay those actions, bring those people along, because it's recognizing that all of us may not have the same capacity to be involved in this way or to be involved in that way. And so, as I said, like thinking about it from an equity and community standpoint, right, is I may have something going on, you may have something going on. In one moment, I may be able to support you and you may be able to support me, but in another moment, that may not be there. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're objective or you're against, what I have going on. It just reflects that your capacity is not there. So first and foremost, I would say start with family. I would add to that, be a storyteller, be telling your story, whatever that story is as a mom, whether that is thriving and living your best golden life with your family, or whether that's you needing, the support and resources to figure it out. Storytelling, figuring out what your story is and being good at telling that helps this space. And then I'll share the last example would just be what I saw my parents doing in general was moments in which they could not physically be somewhere, they wrote a letter. Whether that was to one of my teachers, whether that was something going on at church, whether that was to our elected official. I saw them write letters. And so again, that goes back to this idea of storytelling, and that being an active part of what our advocacy looks like.
And we have two more questions. We have Tanya. She clarified what she was saying. So she experiences some candidates who only focus on themselves. And then we have another question after that.
Okay. So one thing I will say, and this is from a really like a just a largely political perspective, and I hope everyone takes this away and feels empowered and encouraged. We don't need uncontested races. No matter the political party, we don't need uncontested races. And so I say all that to say, it really to, like I said, to encourage and empower everyone, each of us. If we feel like the candidates that are running for office just are not it, are not speaking to the things that we need them to be speaking to, are not in it for the community, then we can individually step up. Again, we are all leaders. The grassroots is us. It is for us. It's an endeavor on our behalf. And so with that, my response there is to encourage us as individuals that are seeing the community as needing to be the center to step up and say it loud and proud.
And then we have two more questions. From Dr. Murray, how do we help those who have enjoyed privileged access understand that the pursuit of equity doesn't disadvantage them? They don't lose anything in expanding opportunities for those that have been marginalized. I really like that question.
I love this question. I love this question for a number of reasons. Um, I so the last question talked about which caused everyone to lose within the 2024 election. And one of the key things that I know I honed in on around that was the spaces and places that I even found myself in. And I would align that those are spaces of privilege. Um, and so with that, it was understanding what is happening within those spaces, how conversation is happening within those spaces. What are we saying within those spaces that we are then taking outside of those spaces? And so it was thinking about how to talk exactly to those of us that have access privilege, that have privileges where this particular training came from. It is to speak directly to those of us that have it. And so what I say to those, what would I say? What examples would I give? I would pull out the presentation. and I would show them the slides and the difference between equality and equity, and hone in on while equality is a good practice to have, it is a good baseline to start out with, is to ensure that we all feel equal in a space. We must go further because we are people, because people have two things that no other mammals on this planet have, which is intelligence and will. That means that we at that point have to apply that in our lived experience, that intellect, that will to be better than we were yesterday. And so reflect to them that equality, yes, is again great. But as we live, as we apply our intellect, as we apply our will, we then have to center equity. And with that, equity recognizes is that we may not need that thing. We've accessed a place of privilege, we've accessed a place of advantage that allows us to be buffered, to be um removed from that thing.
And then we have two more questions, and I think we might be at time after that. Thank you all, by the way. How do we continue advocating for equity in today's political climate that is increasingly resistant to the language of equity?
Don't stop. uh that it's realistically that it's by attending sessions like this and being able to engage in what I think through these questions has been a fruitful conversation. It is again going back to some of the baselines, right? Is that equity is for all of us. And so while you may not have agreed with the outcome of the 2024 elections, that does not mean that those individuals who are now in leadership are not responsible to you. That does not mean that your voice still does not have significance and prominence until it doesn't. And so with that, again, it goes back to we all play a role in the lived experience of it all, and we are all storytellers. And so continue to tell your stories. Continue to in that bring different people, your family, your friends, your networks into the spaces to hear your stories, but then also be actionable to that. I will end this particular question by going back to that leadership example and how I aim to forge that forward now. It's recognizing that we all play a part. And so whether we are the teachers and the facilitators, and whether you're their leader, you ask them questions. Whether it's the people, the students in those classrooms trying to learn something and benefit from this program, you ask them questions, you hear their responses, and then from there you work to bring all of that together in the most comprehensive plan possible.
And here's our last question. What are your solutions for being burned out?
Take rest. I seriously take rest. The team, the program and political team can speak to this. The weekends for me are the weekends. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are my time to myself. I've gotten into a better habit of trying to not check emails and not check Slack messages. It still happens, and so I give myself grace when it does, but recognizing that the weekends are weekends, and unless it's an emergency in the political geopolitics space of it all, that it can be handled on Monday, or I can pick it up then. And so something that I think is in the social geist of it all is boundaries. Is the word that seems to resonate there. And so creating some real just sort of boundaries for oneself as we engage. For those that are more in a volunteer space, it may be cutting back on the news, creating sort of parameters for yourself on how you watch and engage with the news. I know for myself, I took a nice cool 7 months off after November 5th from watching political news, and have just now slowly started to get back into a regular routine with it. And so it's about assessing our individual capacity as we go. Uh, Again, recognizing that we are all a part of this. We all are involved in the leadership, and then figuring out best spaces and places to apply that.
I
So
think we're sorry.
that was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one.
So with that, I will simply say again, thank you. These questions to me really did reflect that this was a worthwhile endeavor to do. So this smile on my face is absolutely genuine. I will say here, because this is the first one, and I think it would be a great moment, a great opportunity to end this way, to take this moment to thank Kyra and to applaud her for the hard work that it was to get us here. So kudos. And I will turn it back over to her to close us out.
Yeah, I just want to thank every single one of you for showing up, asking really great questions, staying present, and being a part of this. This really means a lot to us. We put a lot of work into this, so thank you so much. Please stay connected. Never be a stranger. I'm gonna send out a follow-up email to be out tomorrow with like some more information. And then also bring your friends and family to the next training session where I will be leading you through Civics 101. It's pre-recorded, so I won't be live, but you'll get to hear a little bit more about me and my experience, and also learn a bit more about how your elected officials work. So if you have any questions, please stay in touch via our social channels and have a wonderful night.